they come.
Welcome to this week's edition of Here They Come. My name is Paul Ramlow.
And I'm Kate Lockhart.
We'd like to welcome you to this week's show. Plenty of topics to touch on this week. Kate, why don't you start us off?
Well, one of the big news items this week is that the Chicago tracks have opened. On Wednesday, we had Balmoral kicking things off, and then Thursday, Maywood opened as well. There's actually some exciting news for the horse players out of Balmoral. They announced that they're going to move their Pick 4 to a later slot in the wagering menu so that people can play both the Meadowlands Pick 4 and the Balmoral Pick 4. And they've also reduced the takeout on that bet quite a bit. It's now at a low takeout rate of 15%, which is the same as the takeout on the Meadowlands bet.
Yeah, this is great news. I think everybody at racetracks tries to position their product to where they can get not only a lot of action on track, but also action on the simulcast signal.
Yeah, and I've already seen some reaction to it from horse players online. Both the Horse Players Association of North America has responded positively, and also there's been some chatter on the USTA social networking site Harnessphere about what a great move this is for the horse players.
Hopefully you had an opportunity to check out the story written by Harness Racing Communications' Ken Weingartner on the USTA website earlier this week about horseman Eric Carlson. Carlson's a 34-year-old from Ypsilanti, Michigan, who last year captured a couple of dash championships, one at Raceway Park in Toledo, the other at Northville Downs outside Detroit. What makes Carlson's story very interesting is he's basically a late bloomer to the sport of harness racing. This sounds kind of familiar, Kate, doesn't it?
It sure does. It's a similar story to Correy Callahan, who was a standout hockey player at the University of Kentucky, and then, started a non-harness racing job after school and decided, no, he was going to do what it was he loved to do and pursued a career driving harness horses.
And speaking of Callahan, that leads us into this week's interview. Nicole Kraft had the opportunity to talk with Correy Callahan.
Correy, it's a pleasure to speak with you today. How's your day going?
It's going well. Sun's shining here, so all is well in Maryland.
Well, Correy, I was looking on Facebook, and I couldn't help but notice that you posted a bunch of race finishes that under the heading, What I Do for a Living. What prompted you to do that?
I don't know. I mean, they were there on the USTA page, so I just saved them to my computer and put them on there. Facebook's a good way to stay connected. With friends from high school and friends from college.
Corey, you were an All-American hockey player down in Kentucky, and we have a lot of hockey fans here at Hoofbeats. We're wondering, are there similarities between hockey and harness racing?
Definitely. I grew up playing sports my whole life, so, always been very competitive, and that's the thing. I mean, you always want to win, and there's times in hockey when, I can remember, riding home and my mom, would look in the back seat and be like, "What's wrong with you?" Well, we lost, and, I should have scored on that breakaway, and if I had scored, we'd have won.
Well, I have to ask you then about the jug, and actually we have a question from Eric Carlson from Dublin, Ireland, and he sent a note in to us that asked if we would ask you what George Teague said to you after your drive with Mr. Wiggles in the jug. I'm sure that's a drive that you wish you had to do over. What was that like, and what did George say to you?
George was obviously not very happy, nor was I. I looked over. Luke and I were the only two leaving, so I grabbed up, to let him go and went to move back, and he gave me the cold shoulder. I mean, now, moving forward, I know that Luke plays hardball, and I'll have to play the same way. So if I could have that over, obviously I would do it again. And like I said, I mean, George wasn't happy, and I don't take anything that he said personally. I mean, it's a competitive sport. They're going for a lot of money. That was a very prestigious race.
Recently, you had a great fundraiser with the Kent County SPCA. You raised a lot of money, raised a lot of dog food. Drivers have a responsibility to be good on the track, but do they have a responsibility off the track too? What kind of prompted that for you, and was it something that you think that drivers should do more of?
And I think it's something that we should definitely do more of. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time doing it, and I think it showed well for Harrington Raceway as well, just to kind of get a positive outlook, on the sport, and hopefully gain some more interest in the years coming.
Absolutely. All right, that's awesome, Corey. Thank you so much. It was great talking with you.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole.
Corey's actually going to be answering questions on the Hoofbeats Facebook fan page today at 3 p.m. If you have a question you'd like to ask him, be sure to visit the page before then and post your question to the page so he has an opportunity to answer it.
And one of the other perks for being a fan of the Hoofbeats magazine page on Facebook is you will be among the first to find out the results of the 2010 Experimental Championship ratings for Pacers, done by the legendary Stan Bergstein for Hoofbeats magazine. Those results will be released this afternoon at 4 p.m. to all fans of the Hoofbeats magazine Facebook page. So if you haven't done that, do it right now, because you'll want to find out that information as soon as it comes. One of the most exciting things is finding out the experimentals for the upcoming season.
Well, I don't know if you've been to the USTA newsroom lately, but training centers around the country are starting to submit their list of 2-year-olds in training to the USTA. The list can be found in the USTA newsroom, which is news.ustrotting.com, under the announcements section. So far, we've received reports from Vernon Downs, Spring Garden Ranch, Gilchrist Training Center, and Hawkinsville, Georgia, just to name a few.
Yeah, these training center lists are very popular, Kate. They list the names of the horses, their breeding, and which stable they are under. And people find these very interesting as they get ready to look for the new 2-year-olds to come to the racetracks this summer.
All right, well, it's time for the Hollywood Minute, featuring Bob Hollywood Heyden, Meadowlands statistician. The Hollywood Minute's brought to you by Hoofbeats Magazine, reporting with horsepower.
Holly, I don't know if you noticed on our Hoofbeats Facebook page, we're going to do a exclusive preview of the Experimental Pacing Championships, which are coming out from Stan Bergstein in our February issue. And, it's funny looking at the horses that lead it, which I'm not going to reveal right now, but last year, the horse that led it never even made it to the races.
Yeah, and it was unprecedented. In 2008, both the top 2-year-olds did not make it back to a parimutuel race as 3-year-olds. Major Renard and Nebula Penizer, which is unbelievable, because obviously you're looking for them to come back and certainly make some kind of imprint as sophomores. Didn't happen. Also the same year, Brent McGrath became the first defending trainer of Horse of the Year not to start a horse in the next year. He did not race a horse once in 2009, which I find quite interesting. So when he won the Horse of the Year with Some Beat Somewhere and the Breeders' Crown, it was quite a send-off for more ways than one. There's some other things, too, that have never happened that you would have just assumed happened. Like, for instance, John Campbell leading North America in wins. Never done, even though he's led 16 times in earnings. Cat Manzi's the all-time leading driver in New Jersey, but has never led at the Meadowlands. 13 times in the top 5, but not once on top. In the last decade, a lot of different trainers sent out a Horse of the Year, but none of them were in the Hall of Fame. You have to go back to 1996 with Continental Victory, the last time a trainer sent out a Horse of the Year and eventually made it to the Hall of Fame. How about the all-time single-season earnings record by Tim Tetrick at $19.7 million 2 years ago? He did it without winning $1 million race. As a matter of fact, he's led both of the last 2 years without winning $1 million race. That has never happened before in back-to-back years. And last but not least, of course, one of my all-time favorite stats is my friend Dave Miller, who at $132 million is the highest-ranking driver ever not to yet be a member of the Hall of Fame. I would assume that will be corrected shortly.
Well, we have another try to stump you, and actually it comes again from Mary Lewis, who was not able to stump you last time, but she's going to give it another try. Niatros lost only 2 races in his career. Who were the 2 horses that beat him, and where did those races take place?
Well, I know the Saratoga race. That was actually the week before the pace eliminations when he fell over the rail. I don't even know if he was charted as a break. He just went down in a heap, and luckily came out of it in good order. Trenton Time when Billy Houghton won in that one. And I think Gimme Get Me and Bill Popfinger, I'm not sure, won the race where he finished 4th.
Well, just about everything of your answer was correct except the second horse. Bruce Gimbel was actually the one that beat Niatros when he made a break and finished 4th in those Meadowlands Pace eliminations. And, of course, he did come back and win in 153-1 in the final. Quite an impressive effort. So Mary has succeeded in stumping you this week.
That's okay.
Well, Holly, it is a pleasure to talk with you again, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Great. I'll see you then.
Thanks a lot, Bob, and we appreciate that outstanding question. If you would like to try the opportunity to stump Hollywood Heyden, send your question to hoofbeats@ustrotting.com. Earlier this week, the Grand Circuit announced their 2010 schedule. A total of 19 stops will take place this summer and fall on the Roaring Grand, beginning with Freehold Raceway on May 1st and extending to Maywood Park on November 19th. Grand Circuit, very near and dear to my heart. I've been the publicist of the Roaring Grand for the past 20 years, as well as an officer. It features some of the major racetracks and major race events throughout North America. I look forward to another exciting year of the Grand Circuit action.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing the top 2 and 3-year-olds come back and watch them go at it on the track all summer long. Well, that wraps up another episode of Here They Come, the USTA's podcast. I'd like to thank Correy Callahan, Bob Heyden, Nicole Kraft, and Rich Johnston, our producer, for putting the show together. I'm Kate Lockhart.
And I'm Paul Ramlow. We hope you enjoyed this week's program, and you'll join us again next week for another exciting edition of Here They Come.